Welcome back to Interjections. Inter go through to the Champions League final for the second time in 3 years, winning 4-3 over Barcelona. Wow, just no words. Mikko, what did we just watch?
Wow, that was some insane stuff. I don't know. I'm still like half pumped about last evening stuff and didn't sleep too much. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
I was planning on going back to bed after the match finished because it was at like 4 a.m. or whatever. It's like figured to be done at 6, go back, get some sleep, but it was impossible. After that, couldn't come back down from it. Jay, I assume you had to go to work immediately after the match. Were you able to get anything done?
Surprisingly, yes. It was a productive day at the office, generating that stakeholder value. Really inspired by the team to give it my all for the shareholders today.
Like your team, did you have a mini pause? Maybe it's around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon where your productivity fell off a cliff before you finished the day strong?
Yeah, there was a moment where I thought I wasn't going to get that monthly report in on time, but then I rallied and I managed to submit it before the deadline.
I don't even know where to start with this match. This is being called the greatest Champions League semifinal of all time, both as an individual match, as 2 legs. It was, just the sheer number of goals we saw across the 2 fixtures is insane. You get a 3-3 and a 4-3. How does this even happen? We were allegedly one of the best defenses in Europe, and you could say we had a good game defensively, and we still conceded 3 goals. Barca with their high line, flirting with danger. Maybe we can just go moment by moment through some of the key highlights of the game, and then we can get into some of the bigger picture stuff. Starting out with the first half, where it felt like a tactical masterpiece in the first half. We were all over these guys, and we had such a good answer for the high line early in this match. We were composed on the ball. We were taking extra touches, and we got caught out offside a few times. But what we didn't have in the first leg was that composure to get through this Barca high line. But we had it today, where we're just taking a moment on the ball before making what's the word I'm looking for, incisive passes that were perfectly placed. And that's what you saw on the first goal we scored, where DeMarco forced a turnover in the midfield and just a lovely ball behind the back line. Eventually it ends up at Lautaro's feet, and he basically has an open net. Mikko, just talk about Lautaro. It's a miracle he started this match, and let alone his massive contribution.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt he wasn't like 100%. Like, of course he wasn't, but I think it was just about he wants to be there to help the team, and obviously he did that. Scored this important opener. He managed to kind of pull off the penalty as well, but I don't think he had a super great game. Of course, he did his stuff and so on, but he wasn't like against Bayern, for instance, where he had like a really super good games. And now I feel that the injury is probably nagging him a bit, and he can't pull off the best out of himself. But of course, he was there, and he's the leader which is needed. Although we have leaders all over the place, but he's probably kind of this kind of a still the one of the biggest leading figures, which is always important in these kind of moments. And he what did he play, like 70 minutes or how much was it?
Yeah, it was 70.
Well, okay, yeah. So maybe that was the correct amount of time on the pitch, because to be honest, I felt he didn't contribute that much in the end. So all in all, scored again. I think he's now scored in every Champions League knockout stage phase this season. which is pretty amazing in a sense. I know, of course, the leadership is always there, but yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag with his performance, I think.
It was just a miracle he was even on the pitch from a fitness standpoint. Like to get a full 70 minutes out of him and him directly contribute to 2 goals, it was the most impressive part for me. And well, let's talk about the penalty instance in the first half. Obviously, not given on the pitch, goes to VAR very quickly. Called the penalty via VAR. Jay, what did you think live before you saw the slow motion replays? Like it's tough to judge, obviously, but what was your initial reaction to it?
Hansi Flick was right. No, I'm kidding.
He said a lot of things. We can get into his post game comments, but he was whining about the referee for just about everything last night.
Yeah, and I noted the irony of his comments after, I think, just a few weeks ago, or maybe not even a few weeks ago, saying something like, "We have to respect the refs and just focus on playing football." So, noted, Hansi. Thanks for those comments. I thought Lautaro, I guess you have to say he used his smarts to anticipate that Kubasi was going to beat him to the ball and managed to turn his body in a way that shielded the ball from the impact of Kubasi sliding in, and therefore led to Kubasi making contact with his foot before taking the ball, leaving the ref with no choice but to award a penalty. I do see why people think it shouldn't have been given, because it was very much a case of gamesmanship where had Lautaro been a bit sharper, a bit fitter, as Mikko mentioned, not 100%, I dare say not even 60%. So it's hard to blame him for it, but had he been a bit fitter, or had he been just faster in general, he would have taken that onto his left foot and taken a shot, right? But I think he knew that he was going to be a bit slower, or maybe he was just slower. But in any instance, as mentioned, he was able to think right there in the heat of the moment and shield the ball in a very, very successful and clever way, which led to the penalty. So, like I said, I can see why people have gripes about it, but I don't have gripes about it being given, and I don't think I would have gripes about it being given in any other game either.
Yeah, it was just a VAR giveth, VAR taketh over the course of the 2 legs. Obviously, the Mkhitaryan offside that absolutely no one would have thought was offside watching it live, and then you have this with the slow motion replay where you see the defender collapse into Lautaro's boot first. It was a tight decision. Obviously, glad we got it. Glad we got it with Hakan still on the pitch, and you go into the half up 2-0, and you're feeling really good. But don't you worry, this team did what they always do, which is they blew a big lead. We excel at this. It's when we're most in our element, it's surrendering second half leads. And the situation was dire, man. After Barcelona scored their first goal, it was a wingback to wingback connection. Martin put in a really nice ball to Garcia. It was great finish by Garcia. Yeah, even after that, I wasn't immediately concerned. But man, floodgates open after that. You have it was the Almo header immediately after that. Then I think not too long after that, I think it was Yamal being tackled by Mkhitaryan, and it was initially a penalty, and then they determined it was just outside the box. And all's that to say, there was a solid 15 to 20 minute stretch where this game looked like we were buried, where we didn't have the legs for it, where I know I was counting us out and I was just waiting for Barcelona to score because it felt inevitable at that point. But Mikko, when you think about
let me
the
just
tie,
say, this is obviously one of those games where all the tactical analysis, it all fades away compared to the spectacle of the match and the result and the event. But what really irked me about the goals we conceded was that, I mean, they're Barcelona for a reason. They come with a expected degree of quality. That's just the way they play, the way it's their philosophy, and the players they always have. They always have highly technical, highly skilled players like Rafinha, Yamal, Pedri. Any generation, they have these kinds of players, right? And so what I'm trying to say is they always play at a certain level. And I don't think they particularly ramped up the level that they were playing at in the second half or in the early stages of the second half. Nor do I think it was a result of a classic Limone second half where he instructs his players to sit deep and just defend. Nor was it any like individual Yamal brilliance. It was just straight up routine defensive lapses that conceded or that caused us to concede those 2 goals from Eric Garcia and Dani Olmo. So I was really quite annoyed at that stage. But I guess while I'm on this point, overall, it just adds to the whole occasion, doesn't it? You know, going from the depths of being annoyed, not just at the result, but at the way we threw away the result, only to come back in that way. So, yeah, what can I say? It was, like I said, one of those moments where we can break it down all we want, but the ups and downs all contribute to the ending of this story.
Yeah, I think we conceded these 2 goals pretty fast, and it kind of all the not greatness but excellent first half performance. It kind of is forgotten immediately, but somehow it felt like you said that there were these defensive lapses. It felt that it was because Barcelona is just what they are. They attack relentlessly, and you just need to be able to absorb that. And we kind of did until we didn't. Like there were these lapses eventually, and we'll get to the Rafinha late goal as well. That was also something that okay, now there was another lapse, and they get this chance. They got other chances as well before that, and we managed to avoid conceding before that. But somehow it felt that this is inevitable. Kind of Barcelona is so good in the offense that it's just almost impossible to kind of contain them. Good example for me is that Sommer gets the MVP as a goalkeeper despite conceding 3 goals. Like they are just coming all over the place, and it's very hard to keep up with that.
Yeah, I saw stats shared. Sommer saved 1.72 worth of expected goals during the match, which just speaks to like the quality of chance Barcelona was creating. And I mean, the weird thing about Barcelona's attacks is so many of them felt like they were just coming through, just religiously through the right wing. Rafinha was very quiet throughout the match until he had his moment with the late goal. But so much of it was just taking the ball, quickly getting it centrally, and then distributing it right for Yamal. So it was a little frustrating in that regard because it's like, guys, we just saw this unfold last week, and this is your best answer for it. In the first half, he was much quieter, but in the second half, it went right back to that point, and he was just terrorizing us, creating chances, and Sommer was having to palm them away. But to Jay's point about just like the spectacle of the match and the enjoyment, I mean, the idea that Barcelona fans have to sit on this now, that we won what is being called one of the best semifinals in Champions League history, one of the best, 2-leg, whatever you want to call it, 2-leg fixtures in Champions League history, and to go down as the winner of that is just such a sweet feeling, and it just adds to it when you count in the fact you won in extra time, you won it at home, you won it like in this just roller coaster fashion. It makes it, and we can talk about this maybe more, but this makes it one of the best nights in this club's history. And the comparisons to 2010 are inevitable, and people are having those conversations. In my mind, it's too premature because you need to see how the final unfolds before you make those declarations. But man, this is hard to top.
Not to get too far ahead of myself here, but this really feels like one of those moments where we'll look back and say this is where the final was won, in much the same way Inter fans look back to the semi-final at Camp Nou in 2010 and say that's when the final was won, and it kind of felt like a team of destiny, winning the final in Madrid against Munich. This time around, we go into the final, opponent unknown, but I don't at least for myself, I don't go into that final thinking, oh, if it's PSG, we have a 60% chance. If it's Arsenal, we have a 40% chance, or whatever, or tactics or anything. All I can think about is we just have to win. And that's all part of the story here. It's the last chance saloon for these guys like Acerbi in particular, but Darmian as well, Mkhitaryan, Summer, a lot of these old, unfancied guys who have exercised such just colossal willpower to wrestle the narrative, the focus, the media attention, the spotlight away from, again, your typical Yamal and Rafinha, these kinds of players, and put the focus on themselves. I said just the other week that Inter's a team of basically working class men achieving heroics by punching far above their weight compared to these super freaks like Yamal. And that makes it all the more extraordinary. And it's just really nice to have all this for these guys to get their due in the limelight. You know, I'm seeing these massive mainstream footballing media like One Football or 433. They're writing stories about Acerbi and his battle with depression and alcoholism when his father died, and overcoming cancer and all that kind of stuff, coming up through the lowly Sassuolo to like the kind of middle tier Lazio, and then finally getting his chance at Inter, and now at 37 years of age, scoring that goal to take it to extra time, right? Like, this is the kind of thing that's unthinkable normally. Normally, these pages are just constantly, it's all the same shit. You know, oh, Messi scored his 98th goal of the season. Wow, look at this shit. Everyone's just circle jerking each other. It's been the most unbearable era of Messi fans against Ronaldo fans. Under every comment, it's like Penaldo and Pessi and all this kind of fucking juvenile shit. All
just garbage being thrown out.
And just exacerbated by the rise of the digital media, football age, and social media. And so it's been intolerable. It's been insufferable. But now for these sources to finally give some due to the old timers who are giving their last hurrah, that feels really good. I just feel good for Acerbi and these guys to finally get their moment in the spotlight. And for that reason alone, it just feels like we have to win.
So when 2010 was happening, and growing up in Canada, Jay, you might be able to relate to this in Australia, but it's like everyone just picks a team, right? There are no like reasons for who you pick. You just like you find that emotional attachment and you go with it. So mine is like Italian heritage, and like this is the team my dad roots for. But like everyone in my school was a Barcelona fan because of Messi, and it was just insufferable. I think they won the Champions League the year before we did, and it was nonstop, and you just get so tired of hearing about it and the content. And then social media becomes a thing. It becomes a nonstop flow of this like I said, garbage information. So to finally see like tactical analyses of Inzaghi's tactics, and to see players get talked about who aren't the same three players who have like a 93 FIFA rating, it's just refreshing. And for me, basically our two skipping the Man City final appearance, because the Man City final appearance never really felt deserved. I mean, if you look at the path, we obviously had an easy path. No one believed we could win that game. You had people like Gareth Bale claiming we were going to lose 6-0. Whereas this time, everyone understands, like, we're in this thing. This is going to be a proper coin flip. So anyway, going into 2010, it's like, versus now, those are like two halfway points for me in my life. It was like 15 years basically between them, 0 to 15 and 15 to 30. And just two completely different emotional journeys of like going through the banter era and this club being hopeless to now being like the cream of the crop in European football. It's just wild to think about.
Yeah. This kind of route now is like a legit one. And as you mentioned about the City final, although we played pretty well there, but still fall a bit short. Now, kind of a difference is we have the credentials to be there. Like we knocked out two perennial Euro, these kind of big clubs, usually doing well in Europe, and now, as you guys kind of referred, we have a real shot and it's probably 50-50 kind of thing. Yeah, even in the media, kind of who's going to win, and whatever our opponent will be. So it is kind of a rewarding or feels good to have Inter in the media finally, to be kind of a relevant thing.
It feels deserved. Like I said, there's a lot of great stories in football. Yeah, as myself and Andrew have spoken about, it's just the way it is with the digital age and with youth coming more and more prevalent in football and football media. And as a football audience, it was always going to go that way. But it's just been insufferable for so fucking long listening to just idiots going on about Ronaldo versus Messi. And in a way, I feel bad because, who can argue that Messi is not one of like the all-time greatest footballers to ever live? But I was bored with Messi. I was bored with him scoring just 90 goals per season. Like, fuck off, who cares? It just becomes mundane, right? And then you have all these children arguing about who's better and FIFA Ultimate Team and all this kind of bullshit. So to see the attention and the appreciation turn from this kind of garbage to real stories about real people like Acerbi and his real life, I think that's really interesting to see. I think that's deserved for these guys because the careers they've had, the way that they've been able to go from, I don't want to say rejects, but unfancied, older, flying under the radar kind of players to players performing at the top of the game at such an elite level, I think deserves as much respect as anything that as someone as Ronaldo or Messi have done. It's a different kind of story, sure, different kind of greatness, sure, but it's still, I think, greatness in itself.
Yeah, and I can pick out players in the squad who I wanted nothing to do with when we were linked to them. Mkhitaryan is someone I did not want to sign because of his injuries and his age. Acerbi, when we signed him, it was fresh off his wry smile against Milan in that I believe Lazio lost a late game. I want to say it was like Calabria somehow put them away, and Acerbi smiled, and Inter fans hated him for it. And then that's not why I didn't want to sign him, but we were linked to him as like a desperation Mercato signing, and I was like, seriously, this is who we're going for? He was basically frozen out of the Lazio squad at that point in his career. They had switched, I believe Sarri was their manager. They had switched from a back three to a back four, and he basically said, I have no use for you. So to see someone like that score what is going to go down as one of the most important goals ever for this club is just wild. And I know you both had given up at that point in the match. I had given up on that point in the match. And then for Barca to keep playing their high line and for us to somehow get a 3-on-3 in the final third after Dumfries wins the ball, it's just insane. And come on, man, like Acerbi finishing with his right foot into the top corner over Szczesny, like it's just unbelievable. I couldn't write this as a script. My imagination could not go there.
Yeah, if you go back to the events in the match, did you? At least I was like, when Barcelona equalized, I felt like totally empty at that point, and I felt that okay, we're going to either lose it like in regular time or in extra time. Like we are like totally out of gas, and well, it was pretty close to that, but Sommer kind of kept us alive, and then a chirpy happened. And was it the same for you? I believe it was probably the same for every Inter fan, but just felt like a total emptiness at that point.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they scored their second, the game felt over because we were putting up so little of a fight. We were holding on for dear life. It was, I mean, even before they scored their second, let's talk about just that ridiculous save Sommer made. I think it was on Garcia again, just sprawling back across the goal. Garcia does a poor job placing it to keep it 2-1. It's like, man, we were holding on for dear life. So when they finally got their second from Almo, it's like, all right, we're done now. This team is gassed. We're subbing off Hakan and Mkhitaryan, like there's nothing left in the tank. I was just praying we'd get to extra time before Rafinha scored. And when Rafinha scored, it was like, all right, we're screwed now. But Barcelona led for 4 minutes across these two matches, right? It was when Rafinha scored until Acerbi scored. That was the only lead Barcelona ever had across the fixture. And you would think there'd be some degree of confidence, coming from us when we only trailed for 4 minutes, but none here, let me tell you.
Yeah, it is just a fact, like how like I said, how Barcelona plays their offense. It's just so kind of terrifying to follow, and the Rafinha goal was kind of the like a final nail in the coffin kind of thing. And there was like pretty soon after that there was I think Yamal shot the post, and Sommer was late there, and it felt like, okay, this is it, and we can't do anything. But I don't know what happened in that Acerbi goal, because I believe Acerbi was maybe only guy from us or from Inter in their box, which felt absurd in a sense that, wow, why we don't have more guys there, and why is it the central defender there? But I'm pretty sure that wasn't like a Acerbi idea, but more like a Inzaghi instructed him to go there to be the physical presence, maybe win a header or two, and well, it paid off pretty well. I think they complained about the possible foul by Dumfries in that goal in the play right before the assist. Did you have any thoughts on that play?
No, fuck him.
Yeah, same.
It was immensely satisfying to see Dumfries brutalizing these fucking teenagers all throughout the entire 2 legs of the tie. Despite how poorly DeMarco played, generally speaking, across the 2 legs, even though he had like 2 hockey assists, really, it was so satisfying that it was Frankie de Jong, this little fucking blonde Hitler Youth looking kid, Boy Scout looking kid, getting dispossessed to lead to our first goal. And I saw some idiot on, I think, on CBS saying, basically talking shit about the goal, that we only needed 2 passes to score. And I'm thinking, does that somehow devalue the goal? And how is, if anything, that's better than Barcelona, because they're playing 1 pass to Yamal and then relying on a fucking 15-year-old to dribble past 4 players and score a screamer into the top corner. So I'll take the 2 passes over that shit any day.
Yeah, and speaking of DeMarco, I think, to me, he played actually pretty well yesterday in the first half, and the whole team played well. We contained Barcelona pretty well. We contained Yamal pretty well in the first half, and I think DeMarco was kind of instructed to almost like hit Yamal whenever he gets the ball, like almost like hurt him.
He was more physical, which was nice to see. He needs to be. I mean, there's a limit to how physical he can be considering his size, but Yamal is obviously not much bigger either, and so I really enjoyed seeing DeMarco take a more physical approach to his game. You kind of need to do that. Like, I was thinking from the first leg, after watching Yamal do what he did in the first leg, it's not only a case of marking him and double marking him and triple marking him and closing him down, or not closing him down, rather. It's a case of you need to be harder on him physically. And it was really good to see, for example, that weak-ass penalty claim where Bastoni had his hand on his shoulder and basically gently coaxed Yamal to the ground, shall we say. But there was never a foul in it. He was simply stronger than Yamal and just directed him to the floor without fouling him. And I thought that was brilliant. That's the way you need to play.
Yeah. And more about DeMarco, it felt that he kept fouling Yamal so much, and maybe he was fouling at other guys as well, that I felt, okay, soon he's gonna take a card and then it will be hard, but luckily he didn't, and he was able to continue to play like that until he was subbed off. And yeah, I really enjoyed this kind of very aggressive style he was playing, and other guys were playing as well. What did you guys think about Augusto's performance in this match?
I was going to say he was surprisingly poor. Like, I don't think you got to get a gauge of what a player's personality or his character is like. And I don't ever take Augusto for someone who's flippant or complacent. He just seems like a really regular, down to earth, nice, hardworking guy with a head full of thick hair. But he was just caught out cold. I don't know if it was complacency or something, but it's funny because everyone, I think, DeMarco was done at like 35 minutes. He looked exhausted. And I think everyone was looking forward to seeing Augusto come in. And when he came in, he got pretty much destroyed for the entire time he was on. He was arguably our worst player tonight, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think he was like, Yamal cooked him like few minutes when he came in. Like immediately he...
Yeah, I don't know if he was... Again, I don't know if he was complacent or something, or just, wasn't ready for the intensity or the speed of the game from when he got subbed in, but he was, unfortunately, one of his weaker performances for us.
One quick Bastoni point. The foul that was called on him that ultimately led to Rafinha's goal was ridiculous, by the way. And you won't hear Barcelona fans mentioning that when they continue blasting everywhere online, complaining about the refereeing decisions yesterday.
I don't remember that, but I'll take it.
I want to talk real quick about Thuram, who played the full 120 on an empty tank. Looked like he was finished around the 60th minute mark, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, comes back in extra time and propels us to victory. One, we need to get this dude some help. He so badly needs some help as in a reserve. But man, just the sheer willpower to get us that goal, he had to carry us. You know what Taremi is. You know how little Taremi offers. So for Thuram to come out and just will this team to victory single-handedly with that efforts in the first half of extra time, just he's been our most important player this season, our best attacking player throughout the season, probably the most consistent until he picked up his injury in February or whatever. Just where would we be without this guy?
Do you not think Taremi actually put in a shift today?
He had a.
I think
he had a good match, but it's his best. He had the great layoff to frattesi, and Taremi was better than he has been. But let's be honest, this is a guy who does not score goals.
Yeah, but the expectations are so low. So this was kind of he did his duty defensively, I think, very well this time. I think he picked up the ball maybe at least 3 times from Yamal alone, and he really did his job there. But obviously the game with the ball, it is what it is. But I was happy with his performance, and then the layup to frattesi's goal was excellent as well. But as for Thuram, I agree that it felt pretty bad looking at him playing there when he really looked like you can't expect more from this guy anymore, and then he has to play like a really the full game. It was pretty insane, but somehow he indeed finds this little spark at the extra time and triples around Araujo. How do you pronounce that? I really don't know. You need to guys help me.
I believe the English translation of his name is torched.
Yeah, maybe I should ask Jay and not Andrew how to pronounce it. Sorry.
I understand.
Yeah, but what about Frattesi? Let's talk about Frattesi. What are our thoughts about him?
Frattesi is a modern-day Inter mini legend. I don't care how many shit games he has where he finishes with 3 out of 6 successful passes. He's given us moments that have more than repaid his transfer fee, despite it being quite a large transfer fee. Again, despite his shortcomings on the pitch from a footballing or playmaking perspective, at the end of the day, He was a key contributor to our Scudetto last season with some key goals at moments where it looked like we were throwing away momentum or at a risk of losing momentum. Frattesi would ensure we got the win to keep our momentum rolling forward and our title march all the way to the championship. Likewise, this season, clutch goal to win away at the Allianz Arena. And then, of course, this game here, like it was a fantastic finish. And it wasn't just some, like just run onto a spoon-fed cross the way it kind of was against Bain. He just ran into the ball basically and kneed it in. This time it required him he feinted, and then he curled the ball into the bottom corner. And then he quite literally fainted because he screamed and just let out this fucking guttural primal roar of just sheer emotion and passion, and that's something that you can't buy. That's something you can't teach. And so if it were up to me, I'd keep him 100%. I really do appreciate him as a player, and more as a personality, someone to have in your team to bring on in these times, who you can trust to deliver. Yeah, for me, Frattesi is, I like the player. I've always liked the player despite his shortcomings, and if he leaves, he'll go down as someone who's a very much appreciated presence for the past 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, I summarized him after the match by saying he's a one-trick pony, but boy, it's one hell of a trick. It's always good. And Frattesi staying at Inter or not is going to boil down to, does he want more playing time somewhere else? Does he want to be a guaranteed starter somewhere else? Or does he want to continue to kind of be this impact super sub who maybe wins Champions Leagues?
Yeah, and I think, I agree that it will be like 100% up to like himself, like what he wants to do. I don't think Inzaghi wants to get rid of him or anything like that. I think Inzaghi kind of is okay having him there. If he wants to stay, I'm sure we will keep him. And as you guys mentioned, it's kind of hard to push this kind of guy away when he indeed has this one trick, which is kind of pretty important in this sport. Kind of score important goals. Like what more do you need in the end? And I feel that he's not like this kind of a fancy goal scorer, but he's like a physical player. He can suffer there like Mkhitaryan or Çalhanoğlu or Barella. He puts the like a real effort there as well, and he's a strong guy. I have no problems keeping him if he wants that, but it will be interesting to see what is the outcome after this season. What's going to happen with him?
I think we've covered all the players in the match who I wanted to talk about. Maybe without De Vrij, I'll just say really quick, was phenomenal in his handful of minutes. He had a few great interventions, but the thing we need to talk about, and Jay, I know you said you don't care, but I'm gonna hold my AK-47 that I keep in my basement to your head and make you make a decision. Who would you rather play in the final, PSG or Arsenal?
Probably PSG, to be honest. I don't think I could live with losing to Arsenal. I could lose to PSG and get over it, in a day or two or a week or whatever. But losing to Arsenal might be the final nail in the coffin. I just cannot bear. No, it can't happen. I mean, you already saw people, quote unquote neutrals, probably Madrid fans, all over social media today saying thank you Inter for saving football. Because Barcelona fans have their own kind of have their own way of being insufferable about the way they play, and we've spoken about this before, how they have a sense of superiority about the way they play. They're all Cruyff, total football and all that bullshit, their La Masia and their philosophy and all this stuff. And we saved the world from having to hear about that shit nonstop had they won the Champions League. So Arsenal fans, as we know, probably along with Barcelona fans, or way up there with Barcelona fans and how insufferable they can be. So yeah, we need to. I mean, it'd be great to beat them, but I don't even want to give them that risk. I hope they get destroyed by PSG, and then I hope we promptly beat PSG. Obviously,
Play style wise, I might say agree. I agree. Not this kind of a agenda Jay has, but I think PSG is more close to Barcelona than Arsenal, and maybe it fits us better. Although I think PSG can defend a bit better than Barcelona. I don't think we're going to score a lot of goals in the final, regardless who we play against. But I feel that Arsenal might be a tougher opponent defensively.
can you just imagine Declan Rice, best player in the world, Saka, market value 600 million. You know, if they win, it'd be the end of football. You know, if they won, I'd want fucking India to nuke us all. So let's hope they don't.
I'm team. I'd rather face Arsenal if it boils down to it, just from a tactics, players, ability to win perspective. But I don't really have a huge preference one way or the other, to be honest. At the end of the day, we've already beaten Arsenal, we've already beaten Bayern. We know we can beat either PSG or Arsenal. We have the experience having been here before. We just got to do the job, as Jay's been saying. We'll find out shortly. PSG, obviously heavy favorites, but there are a lot of Barcelona fans online who are already talking about how they'll be rooting for PSG in the final. So based on that logic, I'm expecting Arsenal to go through.
You know, is Dembele injured for the second leg? That could be big.
I think it's unclear. He didn't play in the weekend, obviously, but I'm not sure. I think it's unclear. Can he play it or not?
Last I saw was he was going to be available, but I don't know if he was going to be starting or not. All right. Well, anything else we want to cover from the match today?
I think we forgot to mention the spitting incident right at the end of the first half. Just kind of a one point to this discussion of the referee that I think they got away with that. Was it?
He was spitting on the ground, Mikko. He was spitting on the ground.
Martinez was spitting on Acerbi, probably. Acerbi said some nice words to him or something.
Do you
or
think
someone
Acerbi
else
threatened to beat him black and blue?
Hopefully.
Acerbi probably had a few choice words for Yamal.
But I think despite all this memeing and this kind of yapping, I think our players were super kind of respectful to Barcelona players after the match. They were kind of consoling them, and obviously we have a much older squad, so we're gonna be there in the final, and maybe some of them won't be there ever again. But then the Barcelona guys, they probably realize later that this is not the end of the world, and they are so young, so they might be there many times even in the future. But I felt it was nice to see that our players didn't overly enjoyed or overly celebrated the win, and they were kind of respectful towards their opponent, since I think the respect towards the opponent's kind of quality is probably there, like how well Barcelona can play and how much of suffering and kind of sacrifice our team had to put into to be able to beat them. But go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say, when we won and they blew the final whistle, the thought crossed my head, we should turn on the sprinklers right now. Just run it back for old time's sakes. Turn the sprinklers on.
of course, we need to be petty sometimes, but
I appreciate you calling us mature, Mikko, because Bastoni's being roasted online for posting a picture on Instagram of him with Yamal on the ground.
good for Bastoni.
All right. Well, we're not going to give
Jay's hot
you.
betting tip.
Yeah, I was going to say we're not going to do a preview of the next league match because no one cares. So let's go to Jay's hot betting tips.
Jay's hot betting tip is Inter 0, Torino 1.
We might as well take a Mikko's hot betting tip. Mikko, go ahead and give me an Inter Torino prediction.
My prediction is Inter 0, Torino 1. I don't think we are going to win that match. I really don't. I feel that even though there's still the Scudetto chase is going on, but I don't know.
No one cares.
After
No one cares anymore.
after this match, I don't see how we can play our like a number one guys. Barella was like he couldn't even run in the end. Like he just couldn't run. It was. I remember this one case when maybe Taremi tried to play him like through and he couldn't get the ball and he tried to run back and he just couldn't get anywhere. And I don't know like what are the players we are going to use against Torino. It's going to be
the same guys who played against Verona. Joseph Martinez in goal. Fucking, I guess.
Asllani
provides back, but Damian, Zalewski, Zielinski,
Arnautovic, Correa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so give me a 3-0 Inter win, 2 goals.
3-0 Torino win.
2 goals from Arnautovic with Correa being the cherry on top.
But yeah, I don't want to see Thuram play. I don't want to see Lautaro play before he's like.
Thuram's gonna be in the hospital for the next 4 days.
yeah, but yeah, because still we are in the run, so it's not like because it's away game. It's a tough match. I think it's interesting. What is the approach? We don't have the midweek games anymore, so it's kind of to the end of the season. We play just this. Well, is it 3 matches now?
I'm just laughing because we said we were not going to do Torino deep dive, and Mikko's like, "Hold on, here's a Torino deep dive for you."
Yeah. We need to cover everything.
I'll just say, Torino have absolutely nothing to play for. So if you want a positive thing in our favor, they're firmly mid-table. They can't qualify for Europe. They're not getting relegated. So there's your silver lining.
Well, there's that.
All right, we're going to wrap there. Hopefully Irfan will be back next time we pod. I heard a rumor that he was one of the fans who was locked out of the stadium for leaving after we went down 3-2. We'll let him set the record straight when he rejoins the pod. Until then, we'll catch you all later. Mikko, take it away.
Forza Inter, Forza Genoa.
That's right. See you guys later.